Hello everyone, I'm Susan Lee MacDonald and welcome back to The Interview. Advances in medical research have definitely prolonged the lives of many people on this planet. My guest today is a special person who has devoted his life to cancer research. Dr. Edmund Euishin Kim is my guest today on The Interview. I'm going to learn all about his professional and personal life and find out how to prevent cancer and to be even healthier. So join me now for The Interview.
Dr. Euishin Edmund Kim has been treating numerous cancer patients at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center. It is one of the top cancer treatment institutions in the U.S. In 1991, he was chosen as the best doctor of the year in the U.S. Moreover, he built a successful career as both a doctor and scholar, publishing over 350 medical journals, as well as multiple textbooks on nuclear medicine and molecular imaging. After spending decades in the U.S., he has returned to Korea to train brilliant minds in various fields of science. Stay tuned to meet Dr. Euishin Edmund Kim and to learn how people can win their battle against cancer.
Hello, Dr. Kim.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm
Good to see
Susan.
you.
So
Yeah,
nice to meet
yeah,
you.
nice to meet you.
Such an honor.
Yeah, good to see you.
You know, I'm so looking forward to getting a chance to talk to you all about your research, and I'm sure you have a lot of wisdom to share with the world about what you've discovered in your cancer research.
Yeah,
So-
I'm very glad to talk to you about all my basic knowledge of my life together.
Fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
let's go up to the building where we have our interview set up.
Okay.
So let's go on up
Yeah,
and
sure.
start talking.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, Dr. Kim, I'd like to welcome you to the interview.
Sure. Oh, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you
Susan.
too.
Right.
Well, it seems that there's quite a lot of information that we can learn from you, given your years of research into cancer, therapy, and just having worked with some of the best, and you are one of the world's best in terms of cancer research. So I know that a lot of people throughout the world really struggle a lot with cancer, and family members, friends. So I'm hoping that this time will be a very special interview to have you kind of share a lot of your knowledge with the rest of the world.
Okay, I was in MD Anderson, which is the largest cancer center, for 31 and a half years. And during that time, I had the experience of my sort of personal treatment of cancer patients, particularly helping some Korean patient, Korean American, and also some Korean patient from Korea. So whatever you ask me, I'll try to answer my best.
Fantastic. Well, so right now you are in Korea. I understand that you live in the US, but you kind of go back and forth from the US and Korea, is that right?
I was sort of retired from MD Anderson after 31 years last year, and I moved to University of California at Irvine.
I see.
But in the last 5 years, I have come to Seoul twice a year because I was invited to Seoul National University to teach graduate students at the Graduate School of Convergent Science and Technology.
I'm curious if you could kind of break it down for the layperson, what that exactly means and what exactly they are going to be researching there.
Right. In the past years, certain scientists work on only their own field. For example, chemists work on only chemistry work.
Okay.
Biologists work on only biological work. Physics works only on physics, and engineers work on only engineers. But now, without a certain hybrid sort of working together, there will be no way we can improve certain clinical application in our cancer field.
Okay.
But other field the same thing. So scientists are now almost mixed together. So biologists work on physics, and then certain physicists work on chemistry. They have to know everything together.
So it's somewhat kind of interdisciplinary, and they're crossing
exactly,
over
right.
and helping the other kind of fields that they normally didn't touch.
Exactly. So even they have a brilliant idea of engineering certain things, if they cannot be applied in clinical medicine, that may not be useful at all. So now with this new schools, we are helping each other. So we are communicating, all scientific field together in our routine seminars, conferences. So if somebody studying new idea, then everybody was informed, and then think about how they apply to their own field.
I see.
So with this kind of new structural policy, we all work together, basically.
With regard to the school that you are teaching at, what is it within your field that you're kind of trying to communicate with the students, and what is it that you want them to learn about cancer?
And as you might know, cancer is continuously increasing. Now 1 out of 3 person will get the cancer, but in next 20, 30 years, it will be 1 out of 2 in the world.
That's a staggering statistic.
So almost every family will have a cancer patient. So we need continuously improving our current knowledge, and then eventually some treatment for the patient.
Dr. Kim, you have been working in the US for about 45 years,
Right.
and you've spent a significant amount of your career working for cancer research in the US at the Anderson Center at the University of Texas, and now you're going back and forth between Korea and the US. From what I understand, you not only are a big supporter of the Western medicine, but also Eastern medicine.
Sure.
And we are here at Kyung University, which is one of the best universities for Oriental medicine and acupuncture. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on and your approach in melding East and West together.
When I came to Korea, we know that Kyung University has sort of a Western and Oriental medical schools, as well as hospitals, plus dental school, some nursing school, pharmacy school. So there's all sort of medical schools, hospitals are in one place. This is the only place in the world. And also, the founder of this school had some visionary dream plan to combine this Western and Oriental medicine together 30-some years ago. So they have lots of experience here, but they never really combined together.
And now you're being here at Kyung University, in addition to you working at Seoul University with the students. Can you tell us specifically what you're doing here with Kyung University?
I am basically advising establishing cancer hospital here, cancer hospital. And I'm very much interested in combining the Western and Oriental medical sort of system together to in this new cancer center. So this will be a good role model, as I said, with this kind of new approach of local therapy and systemic immune therapy together. And so if this works well, this will be really helpful, not only patient, but also many other international probably community for better maybe handling patients.
It is early morning, and we visit the Kyunghee University Medical Center in Dongdaemun-gu, Seoul. Dr. Euishin Edmund Kim begins his day early, hoping to help patients recover from cancer and return to a normal life. Every Friday, doctors practicing Eastern and Western medicine gather together for a special meeting. Specializing in different areas of medicine, they offer their expertise in pursuit of the same goal, to provide the best care possible to patients.
리셉터가 하나도 없는 거야. 엉커진도 여기 허투가 없다가 여기 가면 허투가 생기고 이거 완전히 이게 그냥 다른 암이 돼버리는 거야. 이게 퍼져가지고 퍼지면 퍼질수록 이게 이제 악질이 되는 거야. 그래서 얼리 진단을 하라는 거야. 얼리 진단은 훨씬 수술하기도 좀 좋은 분들아 이 약이 훨씬 더 왜냐면 그 뮤테이션이 훨씬 단조롭다.
Dr. Kim shared his experience of dealing with cancer patients from various ethnic and cultural backgrounds to help other doctors get a better grasp of the situation abroad.
지금 큰 저기 암병원, 대학병원에서 이걸 이제 어떻게든지 지금 이제 같이 해보려고 지금 뭐 그런 운동들을 막 한다고 했는데 아직까지 이제 경험도 보니까 잘만 하면은 이게 전 세계적인 아주 그냥 그 모델이 돼가지고 이걸로 해서 그야말로 그 의료 수출을 전 세계로 할 수 있다.
There are many more discussions in the coming future. We hope they bring forth a new convergence model for cancer treatment that can be applied worldwide.
Dr. Kim, you are here in Korea at Kyunghee University, as you mentioned, to start a new cancer hospital.
Right.
And it sounds very exciting because you're combining the Western allopathic practices as well as Eastern medicine practices and really doing something that's integrative.
Right, yeah.
And you said that this is really going to be the first in the world where it's taking into account all these different practices and doing something very collaborative.
Right.
Now, why do you think this is important right now for people in Korea?
Cancer is a systemic disease. Therefore, cancer patients need both local as well as systemic therapy.
Okay.
And many Korean patients seem to have a difficulty to maintain their energy, strength, because they don't eat well, they don't drink much.
You mean cancer patients?
Cancer patients.
Okay. And this is specific just to Koreans,
Koreans,
or everyone
yeah,
around the world?
Yeah, in my experience in at MD Anderson, I feel strongly that the Korean patient seems to have a worst outcome. That is, that Korean patient
Really?
cannot be treated well because there are several reasons in my observation. Number one, they don't follow the doctor's advice.
Wow.
After they were explained fully by doctors, nurses, they all say yes, 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 but they never exactly follow all the treatment recommendation.
But then what about Americans that you've treated or Latinos?
All patients I've dealt with, they in general follow exactly the way we requested or advised.
I see.
So that's a big difference.
And seen improvements based on your advice.
So I'm curious initially, and I purposely look into this matter. And then I found that most Korean patients cannot sleep well. So what happened in our body system when you are in certain anxiety, then there are several physiologic responses occurred. Number one, the ghrelin hormone production is decreased. That ghrelin hormone is sort of a appetite hormone.
Yes.
So patient lose appetite. And second, the melatonin, which is also hormone controlling our sleeping things.
Sure.
So that's also decreased. So they cannot sleep well. So we usually prescribe all sleeping pills. All sleeping pills, in general, makes a dilatation of gastrointestinal system. So as long as the patient breathes air, all the bowels become ballooned. So they don't feel much hungry.
I see.
And then also, in our intestinal system, we have 100 billion we call bacteria, we call normal flora.
Yes.
About 70% of them are lactic acid bacilli, so good germs, good germs. But the other 30% are bad ones, including E. coli and other all kind of bacteria or some maybe virus. So when you are in anxiety or some kind of stress, then this good, all the germs become weakened or less active. Then the balance of that good and bad, all this organism in intestine is broken. So then the absorption, particularly vitamin absorption, will not be occurred. So patient will be debilitated. So in other words, once we start the chemotherapy, we usually give injection or certain drug by mouth only Monday or Tuesday, once a week, and then they have to come back next week, and that's carry on usually at least 1 month or 2 months. Then we have break time, 2 weeks, and then go on 6 months. That's the minimum requirement for any cancer chemotherapy. But most Korean patients I observe cannot go on more than 2 weeks, because we usually take blood every week to see any side effect. And then all the red cell, white cell, platelet drops. And if there is a decrease red cell, then we have medicine to boost those. But if there is a decrease of platelet, there is no medicine. If platelet is decreased, there is a risk of brain hemorrhage.
Oh, wow.
Very dangerous. So we usually stop therapy and ask a patient to eat a lot of foods, particularly like nutritious proteins. Proteins are essential to form cells, and also particularly important for immune cells, such as B cell, T cell, natural killer cells. So they have to eat all kind of animal food, which has a lot more proteins.
Bottom line, would you say that for cancer patients to get better, that eating protein where they can absorb it well is one of the best ways for them to get stronger to beat cancer?
Right. Again, our body needs a good balanced diet. But because of destruction of cells, and then also we need more immune cells, and we try to supply more protein materials in cancer patients. But they have to also have a certain carbohydrate, certain amount of lipid. So it's tofu is a good foods for, that's a a protein, a vegetable protein, not animal protein. So we have to make such a supplementary things. But important thing is that when a cancer patient become anemic, anemic means is lose blood or decrease red blood cell in our blood. That has, in red cell, there is a component called hemoglobin. If hemoglobin is decreased, drug action is changing. Drug is not working. We still don't know exact the mechanism, but it's been well known. So that's the major problem. Almost all Korean patients I've helped become anemic in 2 weeks.
Because they're
But somehow other Western Americans do not have that problem. So when I see, they drink, they eat very well, because their mind is not like Koreans. Because they're thinking about cancer is different. But they somehow Koreans, cancer is death penalty. That's quite a different thinking.
Doctor, you just said that a lot of Koreans think that cancer is like a death sentence or death penalty. And I think that maybe it's because of a lack of education around the world about cancer.
And I believe that certainly they misunderstand about the cancer, and also they have seen sort of dying their families, some friends, from cancer, and they all look ugly. No question, as I said, because many those cancer patients in my close sort of observation and relationship were not dying of cancer, but dying of sort of a hunger. They didn't eat, they didn't drink. They don't want to talk about their disease to others. So they are isolated in general.
I see.
So that's also a big difference.
Could you please give us a summary of what is necessary, what is needed for someone to prevent cancer or to treat cancer? Some kind of brief bullet points, if you will.
All right. Try to meet our physiological balance. We have to keep good balanced diet. Particularly, we have to avoid bad food such as animal saturated fat that is in mostly samgyeopsal, and also obviously smoking, nicotine damage our lungs, but also try to make a cardiac problem together. And then we have to have optimal, proper exercise. And then we have to keep our mind peaceful. So we have to try to eliminate unnecessary anxiety. So that's the key issues. And if we have a certain family members dying of cancer, then we have to learn about that particular cancer or disease more than others, so that we have to particularly prevent that disease by good habitual either examination or certain tests. So those sort of frequent examination in particular area will help to diagnose disease much earlier. Then it will be much easier to control.
Dr. Euishin Edmund Kim, known as one of the world's top cancer specialists, is sought by countless cancer patients. Despite his frenetic schedule, he is thorough with every single patient.
그거의 후유증이에요. 한 6개월부터 조금씩 좋아져요. 그래가지고 1년이 돼야 조금 좋아져요.
Through his years of experience and knowledge treating cancer patients, Dr. Kim offers his advice for staying healthy.
Dr. Kim, you've done such incredible work, both in the US and also coming to Korea, and now helping to start a new hospital, a cancer hospital at Kyung University. But we are very curious about how you became this esteemed doctor whose interest, lifelong research has been in cancer. How did you start off as a child? Were you always interested in medicine? What were you like as a kid?
Well, I was not interested in medicine. I didn't want to be a doctor until I went to College of Medicine. I was interested in designing or architect.
Really?
Because I was very good in my hand skills, so I was a good painter. I'm still painting. So, but I went through Korean War. At that time, I certainly witnessed, but my particular parents knew a lot of sick people, and then we didn't have any medicine during the 3 years of Korean War.
How old were you during the war?
I was 10 years old, and then I was also fell down from hilly side mountain. I still have a scar in the lips. There was no medicine. Once you bleed, that's it. Just clean, and that's about it. So my parents, who were very good Christian, and then my mother particularly asked me always to help others, and then she always said that if you become doctor, you will have a better chance to help others. And then my father always said that if you be a good Christian, you can do a lot better job than others, because our Lord will help you. So I've been hearing such things so many times from the young age. With my father's such advice about having anything with God's help, I somehow do not have any fearful things. I was in Vietnam 2 years.
You served in the Vietnam War.
Yeah, 2 years. And at that time, Vietnam War just started. So it was quite a fearful sort of fighting. I was a special officer for preventive malaria, some kind of tropical disease for Koreans. I was also associated with the American Army together.
So you worked as a doctor
right,
within
doctor,
the Korean Army.
Right, but I was a special officer for preventing tropical medical disease. So I joined the American Army research team together, and we researched about malaria and have a prevention kind of program things.
After the Vietnam War, you decided to go to the U.S.
Right.
Why did you decide to go to the U.S.?
Because when I was studying tropical disease, I joined the American Army. So I met a lot of American sort of physicians. And then they were much more knowledgeable about disease, and also they are handling patient, all things. And also they advised me to study more in U.S. It was natural for me to decide to go.
So where did you decide to
So I went
study?
to Johns Hopkins, which is in the Baltimore, eastern United States.
So you went from Johns Hopkins to Pittsburgh, as I understand.
University of Pittsburgh, and then University of Minnesota,
and then
the Washington University in St. Louis, and then University of Texas in Houston.
And you were there the longest, yes? You were
right,
there for
31 years, 31 and a half.
Now, why did you decide to stay in Texas for so long?
Well, I was interested in initially immunology, and then become interested in cancer. So MD Anderson is the largest cancer center in the world, and that's the best place for research.
I see. Now, given that nowadays there are many Korean and Korean American doctors working in the U.S., but at that time you were kind of a very
I was the first and
very rare
thing.
Right.
Yeah.
At that time, you were considered what would be a minority doctor.
Yeah,
Did you
right.
ever face some difficulties because of you not being born and bred in the U.S.?
Certainly, I felt some kind of maybe strange things, but I already had more training than others, so I was rather confident to handle any patient and also research as well, because I learned more than others in various particular new areas of interest. Others did not know any such a new field.
And you went in as an immunologist, but then you also studied nuclear
Right.
research,
Yeah.
nuclear medicine.
Yeah,
Can you tell me about that?
I always interested in sort of a new field, and also I was more interested in something others may be hesitant to study or to do things. And so that's why I had many sort of studies in medical field, because those are all basically new field. And so I like to always stress to younger people that if they want to be somewhat successful in short period of time, they have to think about something others don't like to do. So any new field will make it much easier to become successful.
Interesting.
Certainly, that new field takes a lot more studies and maybe more difficulty in the beginning. But once you study it, you will take advantage.
That's a great piece of advice. So,
Right, yeah.
so study what others don't want to study,
Right.
or that's a new
Exactly.
field, and
Right.
then by the time you
Right.
learn about it, you'll become an expert.
Because after I trained several fields, I become full professor in 5 years. That's extraordinary.
That doesn't happen often.
Yeah, most others takes at least 3-5 years to be an assistant professor, and then another step, another 5 years, another. So that takes about 15 years mostly. But I had 5 years only.
Dr. Kim, what do you think it was about you, your personality, your character, your drive, that helped you become a full-time professor in such a short time?
Well, as I said, I worked certainly a lot, almost day and night and weekend included. That's why my children didn't want to be a doctor because of me. And then they think I was crazy about something that I liked to do. But as I said earlier, I was well disciplined in studying, and also I do not have any problem with 5 hours sleeping. So I had enough time to do some more works.
Dr. Euishin Edmund Kim faced challenges as he endeavored to specialize in a relatively uncharted area of medicine. Now, as a top specialist in the field, he is bequeathing his knowledge to the next generation of doctors to make things easier for them.
그러니까 이 CT나 엑스레이는 이게 다 일렉트론 덴시티가 올라갔다 내려갔다는 거고, 이제 그 MRI는 시그널 인텐시티가 올라갔다 내려갔다. 해각과에서 하는 것을 다 언클리어 메디슨이라고 해요. 언클리어. 물론 폐쇄선은 안 나타나지만 작은 림프노드는 거기서 나타날지 몰라. 근데 아주 일생보다 작은 것은 얘기할 필요도 없다고.
Being involved in various projects must be exhausting, but that has never hindered his enthusiasm for educating others. With unwavering passion for the advancement of medicine, he has become a source of inspiration for many young doctors.
김우신 박사님은 이제 한국인으로서 또 미국에서 또 세계에서 가장 좋은 MD 앤더슨 캔서 센터에서 평생 일을 하시면서 많은 경험을 쌓으셨고, 또 현재는 그런 경험들을 저희 이제 경희대학교 안병원 건립하는 데 있어서 많이 나눠주시고 계시고 큰 도움이 되고 계시고요.
Emanating intense energy and fervor, Dr. Kim is combining his knowledge and experience to introduce revolutionary treatment methods in the medical setting.
I may be a pioneer in combining this system practically, practice. The idea, everything was made by all maybe founder of this school, but they never been practiced together well. So I'm now trying to help them to work together in clinical practice.
Dr. Kim, you have spent a number of years as a cancer researcher, and now you are arguably one of Korea's top cancer researchers. And with a lot of the work that you've done, a lot of the efforts that you've put towards this, I'm sure you have a lot of wisdom that you would like to impart on the viewing audience and on a lot of people. What would be just a very concise way of saying how a cancer patient can recover and what we can do to prevent cancer? So first, how can we prevent cancer, and to cancer patients, how can they get better?
All, as a human being, should understand our basic body physiology, and therefore we must prepare for certain disease or certain sort of illness because we are all determined to be died by mostly diseases. And some died of accidents, but those are exceptions. Mostly died of disease. So there are certain genetical factor, certain disease inherit from parents or something. So they have to also think about their potential some familiar or genetic problems. Then they have to learn about that particular program more thoroughly. And then our body needs a well-balanced diet. And then, so they have to try to make such a well-balanced diet. And then, but after 40 years, they have to try to cut down all sort of a likable foods as much as possible. So because our body needs less. Mm-hmm. So if they maintain same amount of food, they will be sick. No question about that. So they have to maintain that kind of things. And then somehow our body also needs exercise, basic exercise, to mobilize all this food and then metabolize those foods. So at least half an hour walking, or if there is some kind of vascular disease, they have to do a little more heavy exercise with little bit more sweating. And then somehow we have to try to keep our mind peacefully. I've seen so many sort of unexplainable, scientifically or by common sense, the miracle type happening in cancer patients.
Miracles happening in cancer patients?
Cancer. So many cancers can be cured without anything. And also, but those are rare certainly, but particularly I've seen, those people who were supposed to die but still live 10, 20 years. And there are certain patterns. The common patterns were all sort of give up their all certain fortunes, or they go to certain countryside for better maybe environment, and then some seems to travel in certain areas they wanted. So those people seem to have a commonly peaceful mind, and then there is such a miracle happen. That to me is exactly right in my observation of a cancer patient, because I've seen such a unusual survival of many sort of dying patients, and those some had a very special purpose of life, particularly many Americans. When they also told me that I have to live some more years. So I said, why? I adopted 2 children. One cannot be living without me because he cannot walk around, and the other is mental, some kind of retardation. So that also child need this patient help. So when I ask about any complication or drug toxicity, about things, they deny, more likely in my view, so that that can continuously have a treatment.
Wow.
So I like to have everywhere to think about purpose of their life, particularly in cancer patients. They have to think about what they have to do after they become survived.
Dr. Kim, you are a philanthropist, from what I understand, and you give a considerable amount of your wealth to charity. Can you tell me a little bit about why you decided to become a philanthropist?
Well, all the report have shown clearly that happiness is related to how you help others. So happiness does not have any relationship with money particularly. Every year they report in United States that if you have too much money, more than certain average, then you'll become unhappy. So for example, in American family, 4 people, father, mother, son, daughter, they need $75,000 per year gross income to be happy. If you have more, then you will be unhappy. It's gradually more.
And so you have become a philanthropist so that you will be
less
happy.
is the same. So, and also from my life in helping students or some sick patient, I was the happiest when I received a small sort of a card or a letter from my forgotten certain patient or student to inform me that because of my help, their life become maybe changed or improved. So it's no question when you help certain needed person, you enjoy yourself first. Your mind will be happier. So I fully understand many sort of philanthropists, to give a lot of money to others, not for showing their generosity, but for their own happiness.
Do you think that you are a happy person, Dr. Kim?
Oh yeah, I think I've been blessed with so much things. I'm living already more than average others, in the history. So, and also I never been sick, and so I was born in maybe good family also. So a lot of things, and then with my all this professional career, I have achieved probably more than others. So I should be happier than others.
Yeah. And so you are happy?
Yeah, sure.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I imagine that you have a lot of plans still. You seem still absolutely energetic, and with the new cancer hospital that's going to be starting here pretty soon, I'm sure you have a lot of future plans. Can you share with us some of your future plans?
Oh yeah, sure. I've been helping North Korea indirectly because there is a graduate school in Pyongyang. That's called, we call Pyongyang University of Science and Technology. Mm-hmm. And the Houston, Texas has a NASA. So many engineers, Korean American engineers have worked in that place. Many were my old friends. Mm-hmm. So they initially made such a graduate school in China, Yeonbyeon City, that's in Manchuria. Mm-hmm. That became very successful. That school was made 25 years ago. That's a very successful. Then North Korea invite that the President Kim, my friend, to set up similar school mm-hmm. in Pyongyang. Mm. So we collected some money, all things. We built 17 buildings in Pyongyang. Mm-hmm. So that school was opened 3 years ago. Now this year we are trying to open School of Medicine, School of Dentistry, School of Pharmacy, School of Nursing, School of Public Health. It started with engineering school, the graduate school, but highly selected students from communist, most mm-hmm. likely. But to me, that's the best way we can possibly help for unification. Mm. So
you have dreams of reunification of North and South
right.
Korea.
So soon after the situation become improved, I'll go there and teach those students. Wow. In my specialty area. They never probably heard about that kind mm-hmm. of thing. So wow. That's my hope. And then until then, I will first see how this sort of combined therapy of Western and Oriental medicine in cancer patients at mm-hmm. Kyunghee University.
Last but not least, Dr. Kim, what does cancer treatment mean to you?
Well, we are all designed to be died at some point, and mostly died by diseases. Now, cancer is a genetic and systemic disease, but it's also more likely aging processes. Although cancer occurs in even infant or all young children, but majority is still 50s, 60s. So cancer become more and more popular. It will be soon 1 out of 2 in the world. So cancer treatment is just a temporary holding of disease process for preparing our final days. Mm-hmm. So although we cannot cure cancer at this time, if we can have some time for anyone to prepare for their final days, that will be very useful because nobody knows what happened after we died, but if we believe eternal life, we have to at least learn about that, we have to prepare for that. So cancer treatment is related to such a death and eternal life to me.
Great. Well, Dr. Kim, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah,
and we've learned so much about cancer prevention and cancer treatment and about your very interesting life. And I really appreciate you sharing your wisdom with us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Great, so I guess you'll be heading out.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much for your time today, Doctor.
Have a good time together.
Yeah, I look forward
Thank you
to
very much.
hearing all about your good works.
Okay.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
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 For decades, Dr. Kim has brought miracles to numerous cancer patients and left a mark in the history of nuclear medicine and cancer treatment. We hope many other doctors follow in his footsteps to revolutionize medicine and patient care.